We are now going to work on section 5.5. We have learned all of these factoring techniques so that we can learn how to solve a new kind of equation in our class. We are going to be solving quadratic equations. A quadratic equation looks like ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Note, this is a second degree equation because it has a power of 2, and we will get 2 answers. We are going to learn how to solve these quadratic equations by factoring. We're going to utilize all those factoring techniques we've already learned in Chapter 5. So here are the steps. Set the quadratic equation equal to 0. Factor completely using techniques already learned. Set each factor equal to 0 and solve. And then you can check your work. Let's begin. We see that the first is definitely quadratic because it has a power of 2. To begin, we're going to add 10c to the other side. We get 3c squared plus 10c plus 3 equals 0. We will then factor this. Remember, when factoring, look for GCF first. I don't see one, so I'm going to use trinomial factoring. I'm going to think about how to unfoil this trinomial. I'm going to use 3c times c. I know my signs are the same, so they're both positive. And the only way to also multiply to 3 is 1 times 3. Now 3 can't go with 3, so it has to come over here. I'm going to do 1 times 3. If I check my outside inside, I have 9 plus 1 is 10. Now if all I was asked to do was factor, I'd be done. But I've been asked to solve. I want to know answers to c. Step 3 from above says set each factor now equal to 0. 3c plus 1 equals 0, and c plus 3 equals 0. I'm going to solve each of these equations for my answers. The first will be subtract 1 divided by 3. c equals negative 1/3. The other one is subtract 3, so c equals negative 3. So I have an answer of negative 3, and I have an answer of negative 1/3. Let's try again. Problem 2 is already set to 0, but it has a GCF. Notice its power is 3. If we have a power of 3, that means we're going to get 3 answers. I'm going to take out x, and I'm going to get 2x squared minus 9x minus 5 equals 0. I'm going to continue factoring. X, and I'm going to do 2 sets of parentheses. So I'm going to do 2x and x, and I'm going to do 1 and 5. My negative here means my signs are different. I'm going to do plus 1 minus 5. That'd be negative 10 plus 1 is negative 9. Now I'm going to set each of these to 0. So x equals 0 is my first answer because this x needs to be set to 0. 2x plus 1 is also 0, and x minus 5 is 0. I'm going to solve these and have 3 answers. Remember, 3 answers because of power of 3. X is negative 1/2, and x is 5. Let's look at problem 3. Problem 3 has to be set to 0 first. So I'm going to add over 27m. And I'm going to get negative 3m to the third plus 27m equals 0. To factor, I look for my greatest common factor. I see they share a negative 3m. When I take a negative out, remember you have to fix your sign. So I get m squared minus 9 equals 0. this is a difference of squares, so I'm going to keep factoring. Negative 3m times m plus 3 times m minus 3. I should have 3 answers when I'm done because my high power was 3. I have 3 parts to set to 0. Negative 3m is 0. M plus 3 is 0. And m minus 3 is equal to 0. I'm going to solve each one. To solve the first, you simply divide by negative 3. And m is 0. The next is m equals negative 3, and m equals 3. So I have gotten the 3 answers that I needed. Problem 4. Problem 4 might not look quadratic because I don't see any powers. But if I were to FOIL this out, wouldn't I have a 5z squared? So I know it fits into this category of being quadratic, but I'm not going to actually FOIL and distribute. I'm going to do it differently to save myself some time and energy. I'm going to add this expression to the other side. So I now have 5z plus 1 times z plus 3, which was over there, plus 2 times 5z plus 1. The reason why that was going to save me time and energy is because now I can see that 5z plus 1 is a common factor of my expressions, and I can factor it out. So I would group together z plus 3 plus 2. Now 3 and 2 I could make 5. So I have taken my expression and fully factored it because parentheses are side by side. Now to finish, I set each factor equal to 0. And solve. So z is negative 1/5, and z is negative 5.